Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Today on the podcast, we have the pleasure of being joined with Victor Pereboom, who is the co-founder and CTO at UbiOps, which enables data scientists and engineers to very quickly turn algorithms into scalable, robust, and secure end-to-end applications without requiring knowledge to set up cloud infrastructure, microservices, automated scaling, or DevOps practices. So super excited to have you on. Welcome to the show today, Victor.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here.
Super excited. Now, so a question I wanted to kind of kick this off with is I'm wondering if you can give us a little bit about your background. First off, my question would be like, did you always know you were interested in AI into this space? Was this something you kind of found throughout your career journey? Walk us a little bit through your kind of journey that brought you here.
Sure. So my interest in AI and data science started probably about like more than 10 years ago. I was still at university studying aerospace engineering at the time. Did a lot in autonomous control. And there is a lot of, it's the more like computer science, data focused side of aerospace, I would say. Okay. And it was around the time that big data became kind of a topic and more people started exploring what's possible with machine learning and those techniques. And I don't know, I've always been interested in more like software and computers and all that. So just out of curiosity, I started diving into the topic and it just stuck with me. Like, this is really powerful technology. So I started also including kind of courses and things and just reading up on what's happening on data science and AI and big data back then and how it could be applied to what I was working on university. And later that, so that kind of kindled my interest in the subject. And later I got the opportunity. I was more kind of well versed on the topic then, and had the opportunity with a friend from university to kind of start a company in the space. And we started actually working on a different like range of topics, like solving machine learning problems for customers, and especially around the topic of predictive maintenance, which is really cool because based on data like IoT, sensor data, all that stuff, you can kind of predict if any like device or component or something is going to break down at some point, if there are any failures and things. We did a lot of that work in railway infrastructure and trying to predict failures there. So it also was solving a big problem back then. So it was really, really interesting to work on. And from there we started building a company around it. It was more like professional services consultancy in the space, and also trying to productize the things we were developing. So productizing the AI solutions we were building, like the different predictive maintenance models we were developing. And we just ran into the issue over and over again of like, hey, we need some kind of standardized infrastructure to kind of take the models, which were basically just like pieces of Python code, right, with like statistics and everything in it. And how do we actually like turn these into working like live application that we can sell and that we can sell to people and sell to the businesses that need them? Because that's eventually what they were going to use, right?
Right.
So that was kind of the type of applications that we're going to use in the field. Not just, we couldn't just like ship the model and say like, okay, good luck, and our work is done. But we needed something. Yeah. So let's say for predictive maintenance, let's say that the end users of the application were more like the actual engineers who knew everything about the railway infrastructure, but not much about data science and AI. So they needed something they could, show them on an iPad when they were out there and just see what was going on. But to get that whole system up and running and working, we needed to host our AI models, let the data flow through them, and put that entire also IT side and cloud infrastructure in place. And for every application we were building and for every customer we were engaging with, we had to do the same thing over and over again. So that's how we started kind of building that AI machine learning serving infrastructure that we now turn into a product and a company.
That's incredible. That's super fascinating. And so
that was a very long intro, by the way.
Well, I love it. You gave the whole story. So kind of diving into that a little bit and kind of what that looked like at the beginning. What were some of your first steps when you decided you wanted to make UbiOps? Was this something that you had, kind of been working on some of this technology in the background and it was kind of a natural launch? Were you seeing some of these issues and you're like, okay, we need to like make something completely brand new? How did that partnership go with your co-founder? What did that kind of look like?
Yeah. So by the time we turned UbiOps into a product, we were a company of 15 people, probably. Most of them focused on data science, machine learning, and we realized that this was a problem. So basically, the deployment and productionizing of AI machine learning, so turning the models we had into a working application, was not only something that we were running into like that same challenge, but we saw that like everywhere. So also other data like analytics teams we talked with and other companies we spoke to. It was like, we all run into this problem of, having this, having good like data science, data analytics capabilities and having the people in-house to do that. But then at some point turning it into actually like a reliable product and service, that's really hard because data scientists those teams are not very at home in like cloud computing, IT software in general. And to build a stable solution, you need software engineers and IT people. So it started more as an internal product and an internal platform we were using to just deploy our own solutions. And then at some point we decided like, hey, this like the market, the timing is right to also help other teams achieve the same goals. So we started actually talking to a lot of those teams at the companies we were working with, saying like, hey, if you had a platform like this, would that be useful? And that's how we started kind of defining the scope of the UbiOps platform. And from there, we did internal development, started with a beta and started getting it out there into the market.
Very, very cool. Exciting times. One thing I'd love to ask, specifically about the platform and kind of what you guys are building is like, how does UbiOps, kind of simplify the process of turning algorithms into scalable applications for data scientists?
Right.
Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Right. So, great question. It's so it's a platform that sits between the data science code and like the cloud and IT infrastructure. So the main goal is making it as easy as possible for a data scientist to take his AI model, machine learning model code, push it to our platform, and we do everything from, let's say, building a software container around it, to scheduling that, to doing like all the API management, traffic queuing and all that. So as soon as you push your code to our platform, you get an API endpoint in return. So it turns it into a scalable cloud-based service, and you can just use the API endpoint to send data to your AI or machine learning model. You get the response in return. So that's kind of, then you suddenly have a connector to plug it into any application like it could be like an app, could be some internal data system or queue or flow or whatever backend you're using. So suddenly it becomes scalable. Your AI model becomes a scalable service that lives in the cloud, or at least in UbiOps, which can run in the cloud or can run on premise too. But making that step suddenly very easy makes it suddenly that as a data science team you can build and ship AI products and solutions much faster than you could before, because before there was always this really, especially at larger organizations and companies, there was this really awkward handover between data team and IT teams, like, hey, we developed those models, we need to run them, can you help us out running this in the cloud? And then suddenly things start to become really kind of messy in a way. And now suddenly with our platform, you have it guarantees for the IT team, it guarantees all this stability for, like, it can run on Kubernetes or plug into, like your existing cloud tenant API, and the interface to data scientists is very easy to use. So for them, it suddenly becomes very easy to, create a model catalog, have all your like MLOps capabilities, have all the features you need to do like model versioning, manage that, build really great workflows and pipelines out of the different models you have. So suddenly building and shipping AI applications and not just models becomes very easy, and that's our main goal.
Very cool. Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like you're doing a fairly good job of that. And so I see, a lot of people are quite excited about some of the things you guys are working on. One thing I'd be curious about, just from yourself personally, I've noticed that you've been on the Dev Network Advisory Board for AI and Machine Learning. And just, off the top of your head, I wonder, how do you kind of see the role of advisory boards in shaping the future of AI? Obviously, this is a really big new topic, a big new field. A lot of people are, wondering how this is going to shape out. So I'd love to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think it's great to, especially for like conferences and events, to have input from people from the industry and from the field to kind of know like what are the latest topics to include in conference tracks, what are nice things to what are kind of emerging topics to maybe include next year. And just I think it's great that they're getting that input from just like people working in the field, like startup founders, company founders, but also just like people working at larger companies like Meta or Google or whatever. And yeah, it's really nice to have all these different opinions to kind of shape what are relevant items to include in a conference or in events.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that, and I think getting all those different opinions, especially from the field, helps to make some robust knowledge sharing and solutions and whatnot. So very cool. I did notice UbiOps offers zero DevOps solutions. I'm wondering if you can explain how this kind of benefits companies, specifically maybe startups.
Yeah, so we noticed that this for startups and scale-ups, we are a powerful platform because they usually they reach a point where they say like, hey, if let's say I'm a startup or scale-up building an AI product based on AI, right? So let's say my offering is based on like image recognition, and I'm building a mobile app for that. And at some point, you can build a beta fairly quickly, so you can like put quite a lot of stuff together and build a beta of your product. But it's a very different game to build a product that like 10,000 or maybe 100,000 or 1 million people are going to use, because then you suddenly need a scalable infrastructure, not just for your app, but also for your for all the AI stuff and all the logic.
Yeah.
And that's what we can give you out of the box. So as soon as you start using UbiOps for deploying your models and connecting them, integrating them in your application or the product that you're building, suddenly you're not just ready for your beta, but you're also ready for like scaling for the future, basically. And you don't have to refactor your whole infrastructure and backend. It saves a lot of DevOps and engineering resources, but it also speeds up your time to market. So suddenly you can ship products much faster. And it also saves you all the DevOps overhead. And that's a big deal in building scalable production grade systems right now.
Very cool. That's awesome. And yeah, I'm sure that's a massive help to a lot of different people in the space looking for this kind of technology. Yeah. Something I would, speaking of, something I'd love to get your thoughts on. Is there any specific companies that you can, use cases or people that have, had success with your product that you could share?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we are actually so we're serving quite a broad range of different companies and different use cases. Mm-hmm. Some are more like enterprises, like Bayer Crop Science. They're building computer vision applications for agriculture,
cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
We have a lot of very cool startups and scale-ups among our users. Some we're working on like deepfake detection, which is amazing. Like in healthcare, I think especially healthcare, like image recognition and like image-based applications in healthcare, extremely powerful, and personalized medicine applications. So there are tons of great products being built on UbiOps right now.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, exciting stuff. A lot of industries that I think you're going to see some big gains from this. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the future of AI infrastructure, specifically like looking at the context of multi-cloud and on-premise solutions?
Yeah, that's a big topic right now, and it's really interesting because there are a couple of drivers that kind of move the kind of change the way we consume and look at infrastructure. First, it was okay. You choose a cloud, right? Like a few years ago, you choose a cloud, you stick with it, and that's kind of where you deploy everything. Uh-huh. But suddenly, especially now with Gen AI and LLMs, now suddenly you can't get like GPUs everywhere anymore all the time. So they just sell out in certain regions, and also compliance. Compliance becomes a topic, especially for enterprises. So like, okay, I want to, I want to keep my data and my compute inside my own organization. So suddenly you have all these different kind of demands for like where stuff should run and how you deal with compute. So that really drives the adoption of hybrid cloud and multi-cloud infrastructures. So there are companies that say like, I want to, use my own infrastructure for because maybe you bought some like GPUs and have them in your office or in a data center. It's like, I want to use that for training, but I want to do inference in the cloud because it scales better.
Yeah.
So then, but you want to control it from one control plane and one interface. Mm-hmm. So we also started. We recently released capabilities to also, like deploy your models and workloads across like hybrid and multi-cloud architectures, which is really cool because then you can slowly lift and shift models from your on-premise data center or like burst training workloads to the cloud, or kind of pick what zone you have GPU availability. So you can connect different compute environments to the same control plane and use that to optimize for cost, optimize for resource availability, for compliance. And you suddenly have a lot more flexibility in what your compute landscape should look like. And that's a whole different thing than like a few years ago when you just like stick with one, let's say, cloud tenant and then build everything in there.
Right.
Because it's currently kind of limiting, especially if you're, if these are challenges you're facing.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Something I'd love to hear your opinion on is, where do you see the future of like AI in healthcare specifically? I know you have some experience in this space in the past. What are your thoughts on where this goes? I've seen some incredible innovations, right? AI being used for drug discovery and all sorts of things. Where do you think this all goes?
Yeah, I think healthcare is an area where AI has tremendous potential. And you also already see a lot of very innovative applications being built in the healthcare space. I think the most tangible right now is being like in the computer vision image recognition space. Like detecting in like pathology or like medical imaging and doing automatic detection there of like like cancer cells and all those different applications. I think those are those are actually they perform really well, and I think it's really maturing field. The tricky thing in healthcare is the data, the sensitivity of the data,
right?
Actually. And that's been a thing for a long time now. So data is usually, it sits in different silos. It's hard to kind of break them down, especially when you like for imaging. It's quite straightforward because there's a data stream from a machine, and you pass it through an image recognition model, which can also run on premise. But especially if you want to combine large bodies of data for more advanced machine learning tasks, let's say, patient files and things, then it suddenly becomes very tricky. But there's a lot of potential there. And so I think the challenging part of doing AI in healthcare is on the data side. But there's a lot happening right now. I think also, as you say, like drug discovery is a big thing where AI and there's also a lot of data in those spaces. So I think for the future, I think also make a bridge from like the hybrid multi-cloud part. This is also powerful. This can also help in the data or in the healthcare space, because suddenly it becomes easier to bring your models to where the data is, instead of pulling the data out of the silos where it's in and, like migrating that to the cloud, because then it becomes suddenly, kind of sensitive and people start kind of pushing back on that movement because it's because of security and,
right.
Compliance reasons.
Yeah.
So I think but it's a very exciting space for AI, and I think we're going to see a lot of cool things.
Yeah. I mean, personally, it's one of my areas I'm like the most excited about, just, seeing the ways they speed up drug discovery, or, all sorts of interesting things, looking at proteins and enzymes, and it's just crazy stuff. And it's
personalized medicine will be a big thing probably in the next 10, 20 years, as soon as, you can fine tune things and also get more information about, like individuals, and have all that data, and,
totally
find like what's the best treatment for this patient in this condition. And that's I think really exciting stuff.
Totally. I think it's gonna, we're gonna look back on the time, give maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We'll look back on the time when everyone took the same pill or had the same treatment as like the Stone Ages, right? Everything's going to be personalized. You're going to run biometric scans on your body and your DNA and all sorts of things, and things are going to be like custom to that. So it'd be super exciting. I would love to get from you a piece of advice to aspiring AI experts, machine learning, people going into the field. What's a piece of advice you feel like you could give them?
Oh, wow. I think it's changing so fast, right?
Yeah.
The whole field. I think compared to 5 years ago, I already hear people talking about like machine learning 1.0 and kind of the new era with more like foundation models and generative AI. I do think that a lot of the, let's say 99% of the business cases and use cases still require like traditional machine learning and statistics to solve them well. I think right now when that becomes, we have like more powerful techniques, more powerful hardware, we see a lot of, I think there's a lot of potential there. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to still, like understand the basics of how machine learning works before you jump into the space. LLMs and Gen AI and transformer models, foundation models, it's really exciting. It's really exciting stuff. But it's still like it's just very advanced statistics in a way, where it's just like you increase the amount of parameters in a model and the complexity of the relationships between them. But still, it's based on the same foundational statistical principles as like the older machine learning stuff. So it depends a bit on what you want to do. I still think there's a lot of right now everyone is looking at Gen AI and LLMs and looking like, okay, let's see what we can do with this and how it can be applied. But that will kind of that's like we're on the top of the hype curve right now, so that will also become a bit more like quiet in a way, and then I think it also helps kind of boost the potential for more traditional machine learning and approaches where there's still a lot of ground to cover and a lot of cool business cases to solve and actually turn into applications and products to make this world a little better. So I think as aspiring data scientist, it will be it's good to have an idea of like the foundations and principles of how all this stuff works, but eventually when you work at a company, it's about solving a business case in the right way. So whatever technique works, usually the best. But I've seen the past that sometimes just like a linear regression can get you quite far. But right now, I think there are tons of exciting opportunities with transformers and LLMs, and we haven't really figured out all the applications yet. So there's a lot of exciting stuff to do there.
Very cool. Yeah, there's so much to come. So much has already happened. So much more to come. Really exciting. Victor, thank you so much for coming on the AI Chat podcast, sharing your insights, perspectives, background. It's been a phenomenal time. If people want to find out a little bit more about what you guys are building at UbiOps, maybe looking at using some of your tools, implementing them into their tech stack and what they're working on, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so you can go to ubiops.com and actually create a free account there. Feel free to reach out or connect me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or want to chat. Definitely open to that. So just look at our website and connect one from our team. And excited to get in touch.
Very cool. And to the listeners, I'll leave a link to UbiOps in the show notes so you can go check it out there. But once again, thank you so much for coming on, Victor. To the listener, thank you so much for tuning in to the AI Chat podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts.